Good afternoon and a huge welcome to you. Good morning, good evening. It's a great pleasure to be with you here on this LinkedIn Live. I'm really excited about this session because I've got a special guest here today. Luisa, warm welcome to you. And thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.
So please give a thumbs up if you can hear everything fine. Let us know in the comments who you are and where you're from. I'd love to hear from you. We'll get going in a moment. The topic today will focus on a project approved recently by the Green Climate Fund. If there's anyone in your network who you think might be interested in this and that you feel would benefit from this session, please do share it with them. So I just want to get a double check that people are there and hearing it before we dive into the detail. So just give a moment to see if you're there. Please say hi in the comments. It'll be great to hear from you. And then we'll dive into the detail. All right, well, we're going to soldier on. I know that the session is up and running. Robert, you're there. Great. Thanks for joining live. If there are other people there as well. Johannes, fantastic. Rahu, it was just taking you all a little bit of time to write some comments, so thank you very much. Reassuring, you can hear it. It's all working loud and clear. Thank you, Hugo. It's great to see you. Hello, Dyson. Hello, Winnie. It's great joining us. You're living in Korea. Okay, so I guess it must be quite late for you in the night. Thanks very much for joining in. All right, so today I'm thrilled to welcome my colleague Luisa to the discussion. She was one of the project team that developed this project, the Crew Angola project. So she can give some insights into both the project itself and into the design process. So once again, Luisa, welcome. Please tell our audience a little about yourself.
Thank you, Grant. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. So I'm Luisa. I am Brazilian. I am based in Rio de Janeiro. And I work for Equal for the past. I started Equal for 3 years ago. So I'm a consultant now. I have a background in international relations and a master's degree in environmental policy. And since I graduated, I've been working in developing like GCF and GEF projects. So basically my role at Equal is to support the development of different projects, mostly in Latin America, the Caribbean, and Africa. And yes, I was part of the team working in the Crew Angola, and I was very happy that it got approved. It's a very special project, so I hope it can give you some good information about the process, and I think it will be very useful. Thank you, Grant.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. And Luisa, you're joining us today from Brazil, from Rio, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. Yes, our team is all around the world, and I was just thinking how amazing it is that we could have such a live event here. Winnie is joining us from Korea, and you're from Rio, from Brazil, and I'm in London, rainy London today, although it hasn't been raining for a long time. So it's just a wow, isn't that amazing? So today we're going to talk about this project around Crew Angola. And if you have any questions or comments as we go, please do let us know in the comments, and we'll do our best to address them. The session will take 45 minutes, so I may not have time. We may not get into everything. We may not be able to address everything. Hey there, Gianluca, and hello, Prakash. So we may not have time to get into everything, but we'll respond to your comments in writing, in the chat. if we don't have time to address them in the live session. At the end of the live session, I'm going to tell you about a new exciting development. Next week at the same time, we're going to have another session, which is around stories of purpose and value. And I'll be interviewing people, and we've got a fantastic guest joining us next week, Sophia Costello from the University of Lisbon. And that's going to be an exciting session. She'll be telling us about work she's doing on climate action in Malaysia and other work that she's doing. Fascinating discussion I had with her earlier this week. So I thought we need to bring it into a live session. Today, we're going to discuss one of these projects that were approved at the most recent board meeting, the GCF. That was board meeting number 40 that was held in Korea, Sondo, Korea in October 2024. So a few months ago, I heard from them. I don't know if, Luisa, have you heard? Our colleague of ours, Annie, heard that, that they're really mobilizing to get this project started. The project is SAP 044. SAP stands for a simplified approval process. Luisa, was it a simplified process? Did it feel simplified to you?
It certainly is a bit more simple than the normal funding proposal, but it's still a lot of work and a lot of things that we need to develop to get it approved. But it is a bit more simple than the full funding proposal, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. It is a bit simplified. We often hear people say it's just as difficult, but actually there are a number of areas that are a bit more simplified. One is related to the monitoring and evaluation plan, which is a comment from the ITAP. We'll mention that perhaps a little bit later. Yuko, so you're on your way to Mozambique to work on a project with us on behalf of ECO. That's fantastic to hear. Right. So this project was submitted by the Sahara and Sahel Observatory, or OSS, in May 2024. The project preparation work was funded under the GCF PPF service modality, which means that GCF funded the project development work. And as you've heard, our company ECO won the tender to develop this project. Luisa, can you share a defining moment or key aspect that really encapsulates the heart of this project for you?
Yes. I think when we think about this project, the two things that caught my attention is first the role of women, that we can see even from the title that women are specifically mentioned from the title of the project, and they were included as part of it since the beginning. Different from other projects that gender approaches are only part of it because of standards and mandatory annexes for the GCF. This one really has a different gender transformative approach, which kind of tries to address the barriers that women face in the region, from a climate perspective. So I think that's one big thing of this project and one thing that caught my attention. And the second one I would say is the key role that was played by the local institutions and communities and organizations that we talk to. They have invaluable understanding about the situation. So that's what we need to design a successful project. We need to understand what are the key problems, what are the barriers, and what are the goals of these communities. So working with communities that have a lot of experience in the region was very important for us, because they really know what's happening and they know what will work. So our job was mainly to refine what they need in terms of GCF and our experience with projects being approved. So how to shape what they need and to make it more GCFable, as we normally say. So I think those are the key points of this project, the importance of women and the local communities.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, so the project is very specifically addressing women and the role of this executing entity. Their knowledge, their track record is really substantial and making a difference. Now we're going to listen very briefly to the introduction of the project from the GCF, from the board meeting. I've snipped out a little piece of that. We're going to listen to Henry Gonzalez introducing the project. And he actually talks about that in a way, because he really says this is a project that's scaling up something that is being done, an organization that has already good experience. so he mentions it in the introduction there, and it makes me think of the past project, the one that we spoke about 2 weeks ago, that some of you joining me again on that, which was in Burundi from the 1 Acre Fund, where that was really very evident as well. The organization had a track record and they really knew what they were doing. So we've got a similar situation here, right? Okay, so let's listen to Henry Gonzalez.
Angola, particularly the Cunene region, faces serious socio-economic challenges that increase vulnerability to climate change. Rising temperatures, unpredictable rainfall, and frequent droughts threatens the region's rain-fed agriculture, with women, who are key contributors to agricultural production, disproportionately affected due to limited access to resources. This proposal aims to address these challenges by building climate resilience through a gender transformative approach. By focusing on sectors most affected by climate risks, such as agriculture, water, and nutrition, the project will enable communities to better adapt to changing conditions. The strategy includes investments in financial literacy, improved farming technologies and innovation, which will directly contribute to enhancing local adaptive capacity and transforming food systems. The project builds on lessons learned from the adaptation initiative in the region, aligning the complementarity and coherence that we seek among the vertical funds. The establishment of the Climate Change Action Centers and women-led micro-enterprises will serve as a platform for community-driven adaptation efforts. The proposal targets 120,000 direct beneficiaries and 180,000 indirect beneficiaries. The project, if approved, will be the first single-country proposal for Angola and will be the second GCF project to be implemented by the direct access entity OSS. This funding proposal was developed with support provided by the Project Preparation Facility. Thank you, Co-Chair. Back to you.
He handed it back to the co-chair. We'll talk a little bit about the reaction of the board, perhaps a little later. We're going to dig into some analysis here. Just to get us started here, Luisa, could you explain the project structure, how it aligns with addressing the specific climate challenges in the province? While you do that, I'll call up the theory of change from the project's pre-feasibility study. And then I'll try and sort of guide us along in the same way. So over to you, Luisa.
Thank you. So as we could hear Henry saying in the board meeting, the main challenge in Cunene is related to increasing temperatures and changes in rainfall patterns. So this will increase the severity of droughts and extreme flooding events, which will in turn impact the crops, productivity, and livelihoods of these communities. And as we can see from different studies and our own analysis, women are much more vulnerable because of their role in society. So they will be more impacted by these climate issues, especially in Cunene. So our job here was to kind of put all of this together in a way that a project could be really efficient and successful in the end, and not try to address all of the problems at the same time. So we identified the 5 main barriers, and then we structured the project in 3 main outcomes that would lead to the final paradigm shift, to which is basically improve adaptive capacity and reduce climate vulnerability through a gender transformative approach. So can I go into the barriers, or should we?
Yeah, please do. So let me just, I've got to navigate the all the different things all at once. But here we have barriers. So there's 4 main categories of barrier, right?
Yeah, so there are 4 main categories and 5 main barriers that we identified. The first one was the one related to gender, so social and cultural barrier. Basically, how gender stereotypes and gender inequality really leads to women being much more vulnerable than men to climate impacts. Then we have knowledge and technical barriers, which is related to how the local communities do not have enough like understanding and knowledge about like how they can address the climate problems that they are already facing, and how like these farmers organizations and like women groups do not have like the technical capacities to actually implement, like for example, climate resilience agriculture, or have access to market to like diversify their livelihoods. And then following, we have the financial and economic barriers, which is basically the limited offer of financial resources and support to these communities, because uh, like difficulties in like technical capacity and like knowledge, etc., and also like difficulties to have access to these financial offers from other sources. And finally, the institutional barriers, which is basically the limited institutional capacity at both the national and local level to apply like climate adaptation best practices, and to kind of have this support to really implement this practice that would benefit the local population. So based on these barriers, we're able to like organize a project in three main outcomes and like sets of activities that you can see a bit above in the your change. Yeah.
It's up here, right?
Exactly. So we have three main outcomes or like components. The first one is related to strengthening adaptive capacity and knowledge management. Uh, this set of the activities under this component would be related to how can we improve the adaptive capacity in terms of understanding knowledge and like technical capacity of these local people to understand climate change. So I think like one of the main activities there is the creation of these climate change action centers. We try to make it everything very local, so like everything would be from local communities to local communities. So like peer-to-peer knowledge learning, systematization of knowledge, etc. This is all going to be at the local level, and this under this component.
So this is really a key element of that, isn't it then, Luisa? It's this 6 women-led climate action centers. Are they delivering the other parts of the activities, or is that, or are they sort of distinct from one another?
They are the basis of everything. So they will be kind of like the focal point for the project activities. So everything after that is going to be based on the knowledge generated by these climate centers and like the people that are part of it. So the project will kind of like set the basis, like the technical basis and understanding of climate change, for then like scale up the activities and then introduce like the other activities under the other components, such as the IGA, income generating activities, etc. So these are the basis for it, and then we could, from that, we can go on with the other more like technical and hands-on activities of the project.
Okay. Yes, so that's fantastic. The idea of that building local capacity, this addresses both the institutional barriers and the knowledge and awareness type of barriers. I'd love to hear from people who are listening in to the session, thoughts on that in terms of an approach to address these type of challenges. It's a fairly remote area, and isn't it? And high level of vulnerability, especially for women.
Yes, exactly.
Do you want to go on to outcome number 2?
Yeah, definitely. So outcome number 2 is about enhancing water security. So as we mentioned, like droughts will be a huge problem in the region, so this will affect crops, etc. So we need like to make these communities climate resilient. They need to cope with like more intense droughts in the future. So how can we help them secure water and like have systems in place that they will be able to use when like droughts become more intense, or like in any type of situation from like, now on. So these are like more technical hands-on approaches that we will like the project will implement with the community. So everything is always coordinated and like discussed with the communities. So there will be some assessments to understand like what do they need, what is the reality of these communities, like where can they get water from, because there are already some projects from the national government that were working on the river that passes through Cunene. So this will be in coordination with like the national institutions and the local communities to understand what would be the best approach for them and what could work for them. So this is like basically the main point of outcome 2.
Okay, great, thank you. Shall we dig into outcome 3?
Yes. So outcome 3 is all about diversifying livelihoods. So basically, the project will work on, especially with women and youth, to kind of build a technical capacity related to business and to become more like independent from like other types of activities. So they will facilitate income generating activities by providing these people with the resources needed. So small grants, for example, and they will also build like something that is very common in Angola and in the region, which is like saving groups. So this is also why I mentioned like the local knowledge is very important. So with ADPP and OSS working already in the region, they know that they can already build up on what is already going on in Cunene, so they can expand this to make it more climate related. So this will be like the goal of the project, like to present these people with the resources needed to kind of diversify their livelihoods, so they're not too dependent on things that will be affected by climate change.
Okay, yeah, that's fantastic. So essentially 3 main elements here. One is principally around knowledge, yeah. Another one around actually addressing water security issues, water resource management. There's going to be some investments, and then around diversifying livelihoods, so that there is a greater economic resilience, I guess financial resilience as well there. So bringing together those 3 elements. Now, shall we just dive a little bit into some of these? I guess the first one we've already dove into it in terms of these project activities, and maybe some of the others as well. What do you think? Do you want to talk a little bit more about outcome 1, or shall we talk about these investments related to irrigation? What would you like to do, Luisa?
I don't know. Maybe if anyone in the watching has any like particular preference, but I would say we can talk about the third one, which I think is like one important thing.
Okay.
Because yeah, I think the third one addresses like also like it gives the basis for people to be resilient to climate change, but also gives them some other tools to like improve the quality of life, for example. So the project will like one of the issues that we face in the region is that women are not like, for example, very knowledgeable on like business, etc. So they don't have this independence. So the project will address that with like capacity building courses, etc., from the local communities to kind of like address this issue and give them the opportunity to expand this. But related to component 1, they already have this understanding about climate change. So the idea is that they can combine both knowledges and kind of like progress on that. And then I think this kind of encompasses like the adaptive capacity like term. You know, they'll not only be adapted to climate change, but also to other issues that might affect them.
Right.
So I think that's like an important aspect of the project.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So just to put that into my own words for understanding here, component 1 is around knowledge and communication, so that people have the information in order to be able to make their own decisions. And component 3 is about knowledge and skills related to income generating activities and diversification. As far as I can see here, part of it is covering measures for improved food security, and then there's a broader income generating activity there. Am I catching that
Yes.
correctly?
Yes, definitely.
And I understand the project will support facilitating micro grants to women's groups.
Yes,
It'll
the
provide, carry on. Yeah.
The idea is that with this technical capacity that the project will build, women will be able to kind of like set up their own micro enterprise, or some like groups of women can coordinate and like create something that they can sell outside, or something like related on these terms. And the project will be able to provide them with I think it was $6,500, if I'm not mistaken, as like grants, so they can start this business and like put it like running with like less challenges as they would have if they wanted to have like a more formal kind of like credit. So the project is kind of addressing the barriers of lacking like limited financial resources that they have. So the idea is that they kind of give them the tools and the capacity needed to kind of advance their ideas that they will have once they understand what climate change is and like what can they do with component one. So I think it's all integrated in a way that kind of addresses the main barriers they've identified, and then we can provide them with like more like climate resilient future.
Okay. Yeah. So I understand they're going to be, the project will support the establishment of informal savings groups.
Yes.
And though that microcredit idea is given to the group, you say a little bit more about that, group sizes and such like.
Yes. So this is something that's already very common in the region. So they will kind of like just work on what is already there.
Okay.
But normally it would be a group size that can vary from like 10 to 30 members, and then they can kind of collectively decide on the frequency of the saving cycles. So it's all very local, and like it's not imposed on them. It's all very like collaborative and discussed with the communities. So it's something that comes from like bottom up and not like top down, and they always have like a saying on that. So it's not like something that we're just imposing on them, and it's rather something that is discussed with the communities and how they will work on that, and like what they can do better to kind of achieve their collective goal, I would say.
Okay. And as you're emphasizing there, and you said right at the beginning, part of this is around the scaling up of practices that are already known. There's a track record here, so it's not something new for the executing entity. They've got it. I'm overemphasizing that perhaps just because it's so important for a project that will fly through approval, that there really is a track record there. Okay, so fantastic to see people putting messages in the chat. Jacqueline, salut, it's good to see you here. LinkedIn user is pleased to join. Helen, you've got really relevant experience here in terms of arid regions. I see you based in Sweden, but coming from Cape Verde, that's fantastic that you're joining us. And thanks also to Johar. Hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Your comment is absolutely right. There's a disproportionate impact that is experienced. Now, why am I emphasizing the chat? Please, if you have any questions, Luisa and I are here to try and answer them or give some insights into it. But as we do that, could you, please, Luisa, just share some insights into your specific role in the project's design process?
Yes. So I was part of the ECO team working on the project. My job description was basically project design specialist, I think. And I mean, the team was not only me, so we had like other colleagues from ECO, also some national consultants, and we worked in close collaboration with the OSS, which is like the accredited entity, and ADPP, which is the executing entity. So basically my role in the project was to support the development of the feasibility study and the funding proposal. So this includes doing like assessments related to the climate rationale or baseline analysis, all the way to project design itself, like theory of change, setting up like what are the activities, describing, etc. And but this is all in like as I said, collaboration with the accredited entity and the executing entity, because they know like what they are able to do and what they can do within the communities. So yeah, we at ECO, we kind of like have this GCF experience with other projects, so we kind of have the role of like refining the project idea and making it like more like addressing like GCF's requirements and making it more like feasible to the fund itself. So I think that's like our role as a summarize it, I think.
Yeah, it's a good way of summarizing it. I often say to people that part of our job, and others that are working outside of ECO supporting access to climate finance funds, our job is one of translation. We have to translate the ideas and wishes and strategy of the client, so it's understood by the fund, and we have to translate the requirements and strategy and priorities of the fund to the client. So we're interpreters between the two, and our background and knowledge of this area allows us to understand both points of view and step into the shoes of either side, right? One of our core values is empathy, and that's what it's all about in Luisa, getting there and understanding from the perspective of others.
Definitely,
So,
yes.
Luisa, you went to Angola during this trip. You were working with national stakeholders.
Yes, one of our like roles in the project was to go to Angola. We went in August 2023 for the national stakeholders workshop. So we met with OSS and ADPP, and we managed to have meetings with the main national stakeholders. So Ministry of Environment and other like people that were working in the project. So at the end of the mission, we organized the National Stakeholders Workshop, which is basically the opportunity that we have to present the project idea to the national stakeholders and also gather their feedback. So understanding where can we improve the project idea, what is needed, where we can also have more information. So different institutions, I think we had like 40 people are present in the workshop. So from different, also not only national, but also local communities, representatives went. So we can gather like different groups and do some like, let's say like focus groups. And then we discuss specific topics with different people. So we can have like a different perspective from each topic from like different institutions. So it's a very good exercise to kind of like try to gather as much knowledge as we can and as much information and data as we can to base our analysis, like the baseline analysis and the project design on exactly what is needed from the local partners. So it was a very good experience to get to see like, people in person as well, which is like difficult when we work remotely. So we kind of get a bit understand better what is happening also like in the country, like how everything is going. So it gives also like a little boost on like our work to see it, like where it will be implemented. I think it's a very, very good opportunity as well.
Great. Yeah, what we've mentioned a few times, the strength of the executing entity was such that we didn't do site work in this particular case. We often are doing that. We've got a team at the moment in Peru, in the Amazon area, out in remote areas, consulting with indigenous peoples and such like. But here you were mostly or entirely dealing with national level. Right?
Yeah, in this case, we didn't have the opportunity to go to the local communities, but we stayed more in the capital. but yeah, often we go to, I mean, Ugo is going on behalf of us. Ugo is also working for the Mozambique project, which I'm working on. So it's good to see.
Yes. Okay, great. Thanks. And Kitegi has just asked for the document to be shared. I'm going to put on a little QR code with the which you can scan in the top left of the screen. If you scan that, it'll take you to the GCF website with the download for the Angola project document. So you can dig into that, see the details, the funding amount, and everything like that. So please feel free to scan that. I'm seeing in the chat, so Whitney, you have asked a question. Let me just move over to the Q&A side of things to please do ask questions. We've got a few minutes more. Whitney, let's have a look at what you've written here. It's not fitting all on the screen. You've written, does income generation, investment diversification activities necessarily focus on the introduction of business ventures? Or can this also include knowledge-based activities that increase the knowledge and ideation of the targets to diversify therein? And I'm just going to read it from the full text. Diversify their investments or create the preferred enterprises using knowledge, skills, and mentorship acquired and provided under the project. Though the former is traditional, so business ventures, the latter holds much strength when we're looking at sustainability and community ownership. It's a little bit to digest there. What do you think of that?
At this point in the project design, we did not kind of set up specifically what the income generation activities would like be. So we only like kind of define that they would be aligned with the project objective of like climate resilience, etc. So I think this will be much more discussed and like agreed on during the project implementation. But I think the goal with like the budget that we have for the project, etc., it would be a bit more focused on like more specific business ventures. But this will be,
Okay.
I think, defined during the project implementation, because this can change as well. So.
Yeah, I think we've got knowledge sharing activities as part of outcome one, component one, right? And there is funding available that will go to these women-led climate change action centers. So I guess, correct me if I'm wrong then, Luisa, if that, there is funding available at the local level for local knowledge learning and activities related to knowledge sharing, knowledge ideation, using knowledge skills, mentorship acquired. There's a knowledge side and there's an investment in the actual income generation, like a business venture. So yes. I suppose in a way the project is doing both of those, right?
And it's important to say that it would always be in agreement with the community, so they will choose what they want to do. So the idea, I think, is exactly that, like with the tools and capacity built by other activities, they will be able to create like business models or like ideas that will be based on the knowledge acquired like previous on the other activities. So I think it's a combination of both. Yeah. But I think like in terms of the IGA activities itself, I think the investment will be more focused in the business venture, but I think it encompasses everything. So.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic. And so thanks, Winnie, for that question. Hopefully we've managed to give some insights into that. Yeah, it's a good point that in fact, is it only, do you try and stimulate both the knowledge sharing type of activities and making use of the knowledge that is learned for ventures and investment in actual income generating activities? There's a whole combination that are there. Great. any other questions?
I think we have another question from John.
Yeah. Let me just see. Aha. Joha, maybe just a comment again. It's not going to fit on our screen, I think, around the approach of combining knowledge sharing with capacity building, aligning with SDGs. Indeed, in empowering women through micro enterprise. I mean, really good, great points you're making here, Joha. There's, next week, just another pitch for it. Next week, I'm going to be speaking with a researcher from the University of Lisbon who's really active working in urban development, but also in gender. And she was telling me about a study that she did around that idea of women reinvesting their income into their families and communities. And this, not from this region, but from Southeast Asia, is really fascinating. Unfortunately, the money given to the men doesn't produce that same lasting benefit for the family and the community, right? And your question, which is cut off at the end of this here, is how might expanding microcredit programs for small groups of women in African countries further enhance women's contributions to sustainable development? And what are the key factors that ensure the success of such programs? You're asking a big question there. You want to answer it, Luisa?
Yes, yes. I think, I mean, in the context of like time, etc. The key factor that can ensure the success of these programs, I think, is the relationship with the community, like really hearing them what they need and ensuring capacity building, ensuring that these people have the tools, the instruments, and also like the support that they need to advance these ideas. So I think this is like the key factor of success, is to provide them with what they need to succeed. And I think that the first part of the question, like how might expanding microcredits for women, further enhance women's contribution? I think one of the main issues that women face is the access to credit and to resources. So if we can fill in this gap and facilitate the access to resources, they will be able to contribute more, because this is one of the main issues that we see when we analyze women and climate change, because they are normally caretakers, so they're not really involved in this more business side of things. So if they have the tools, the capacity, and the instruments and the support, I think that it's clear that they will have like a path that they will be able to succeed. So I think the project is aiming at bridging these two gaps, like the capacity one and the access to resources. So I think this is the goal.
Fantastic.
I think it's,
and this project is doing a lot of that, right? It's
yes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. We're going to just bring it to a close now. Thank you so much for everyone for such great inputs and insights. I want to mention before we go just something, if I can just open up a QR code. I'm going to switch. I've had that one for Angola. If you didn't scan it yet, you can always come back to the video. It's going to be available immediately after this call, or almost immediately after this call, on the same page. So you can always jump to it and pick up that link. We have a publication. We publish it before every board meeting. We're getting the pulse of what's happening related to the GCF. And this time we're really talking about how to scale up and make transformation of innovation. And we're doing a survey for that. If you've got your phone handy, please pick it up, scan this link. I think a colleague will also put it in the chat. I'm hopeful they will. Please do go to the survey, put in your thoughts around transformation and how GCF can more effectively or most effectively bring about transformation, and the idea of local ownership, that Luisa's just been talking about. So have a look at the survey. It'd be great. Sandy, thank you so much for putting the link there. Please do go there and pick it up from our survey tool. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me just see if there's anything that I have missed. I don't think there. We've got a very last minute question there. LinkedIn user, I don't have your name there, but power dynamics, these are huge issues. If you don't know it already, do have a look for some of the literature related to locally led adaptation and some of the issues there around the huge power dynamics that are between, the likes of me or even Luisa going and talking to people or national stakeholders versus out in the field. So I'll try and put some little links into the chat after this. I think just a final huge thank you, Luisa. It's been fantastic being on the call with you today. All the participants, thank you also for joining in. Please share this with your networks. The more people we can tell about this, the better. Please reshare this, really appreciate this. And how did you find it? Was it useful? Let me know in the comments. I can see a few already, a few people saying thank you and fantastic session. If you found it as well, put in notes there. If you struggled with the technology or the content or how we were explaining things, just put it into the comments. We'll look forward to seeing that. Really fantastic to have all of you here. I'm running these sessions regularly. Join me next week for a completely different type of session, not talking about a GCF project, but talking with someone who's working actively in the field, delivering improved resilience for cities through a network, a collaborative network in Malaysia, and other things. She's a wealth of information, so I'm sure you'll enjoy that discussion. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Luisa, and catch you next time.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you, everyone, for the questions and the presence. And I hope to be here again at some point.
Yeah, it'll be great to have you as a guest again on the session. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.